Today we're going to talk a bit about the differences between engineers versus technicians versus technologists, and kind of define what the roles each of these play. So, what an engineer does is they take existing scientific knowledge and they're going to design products or design processes. If you want to become an engineer, you need a four-year degree from college, so bachelor degree. And an engineer, like they may do some hands-on stuff sometimes, and work with technicians and technologists, but they mainly focus on the design aspect and the making sort of blueprints or processes or designs. They focus on that aspect of whatever it is the project is they're working on. So they are kind of designing blueprints and developing designs. What a technologist does is, suppose you're an engineer and you're wanting to design like let's say a assembly line, and you want to use one of those robotic arm machines to do something with the circuit board. You're somewhat familiar with it, that it can do the process that you want, but as far as actually making it go and calibrate everything correctly, this is where you may want to get a technologist. So a technologist is basically, they're an expert with given technology. You could say in this instance that we're talking about, this example would be the robotic arm in an assembly line. You'd maybe want someone that's an expert that has worked with those before and knows how to feed data to it, know how to calibrate it, basically to make sure that it works correctly. And those, for technologists, you need a four-year degree. It's a bachelor degree as well. So basically, as technology progresses, whatever the process or the design an engineer is making, they're gonna, at some points in times you need to involve a complicated piece of machine or do something complicated with technology, and in that case it may make sense to bring a technologist in who is a expert or has worked with that technology before and knows exactly what to expect with it, and then the engineer can work with the technologist to make sure that it's working correctly and doing what it's supposed to. Finally, what we got are technicians. This is a 2-year degree to become a technician for entry level. These work under the engineers or the technologists, and they're the ones that bring the engineer's design or the engineer's blueprints. They're the ones that actually build it and bring it into reality. Or they work under the engineer. They also work under the technologist. Like if the technologist, say for this robotic arm thing that we're talking about, maybe it needs to be wired up a certain way, and the technologist will tell the technicians, like, hey, you guys need to run wires this way for this piece of equipment, and they'll wire it up according to the technologist's order, and they'll, build the design according to what the engineer specified. So they basically go through and do all the tasks like maintaining the equipment, calibrating, data collection. If stuff's not working, they help troubleshoot it. And they basically bring the design that the engineer produced. They're the ones that bring that into actuality, bring it into reality. So kind of summarizing, engineers focus on building designs. Kind of think of them as building the blueprints or designing the blueprints for whatever it is, process or product. Technologist is an expert on a certain bit of technology, because if the engineer is designing something that requires some bit of technology to use that the engineer hasn't, maybe knows a little bit about it, but doesn't know all the ins and outs of it, that's where maybe you'd see a technologist that is very knowledgeable with that piece of equipment. And then technicians work under the engineers and the technologists, and they're basically saying, okay, I have the engineers design, the technologist told me what needs to be done on this, and they're the ones that actually build it up, and then maintain it, and do all the work to bring that design or that idea, bring it into reality.